Howdy, and welcome to Resume Writing to Beat the Bot. This is a reusable learning object created for ALEC 640 Methods of Technological Change at Texas A&M University. I'm Caitlin. I'm a student here at Texas A&M in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and I am pursuing my doctoral degree in agricultural leadership, education, and communication. I am also a full-time staff member here at Texas A&M, and I work in career services. I have been a practitioner in this field for over 10 years, and a large part of my job is to instruct students on best practices and strategies of resume writing. So basically, you can say I'm a ninja at teaching students how to beat the bots, otherwise known as applicant tracking systems. So what is an ATS? Or an applicant tracking system? So applicant tracking systems are computer software programs that manage a hiring process. So the system does this by collecting and sorting hundreds or thousands of applications and match those resumes to a job description. So where this is really cool for employers, makes it a little challenging on a job seeker. So this innovation made its debut in the 1970s as a way to streamline employer processes because hiring managers and some recruiters simply just don't have the time or resources to look at all of the applications they receive for each job posting. On average, an open job posting, that's something you can find and apply to on the internet, sees over 100 to 200 applications, some overqualified and some underqualified. So this problem was recognized, and then the development of an ATS system became the innovation that changed the landscape of our global hiring practices. Okay, so how does this work exactly? So when you submit your resume, it goes directly to a company's ATS system if you're using an online portal. This ATS system then analyzes your resume and stores it in a database. A hiring manager, recruiter, or anyone that has access to their particular system can search the database for matching qualifications in which they are looking for. So basically, the ATS enables hiring managers to hand select qualified candidates without even reading a resume. So champions of this innovation are large job boards like Indeed, Monster, and LinkedIn, and now Google Jobs, which have made it really easy to submit an application or submit a resume. All it takes is a few clicks, right? So while this may seem like a really awesome thing, it actually makes your resume stand out less. This is a great example of an undesirable consequence of an innovation. An ATS was intended to increase the number of qualified candidates in a pool. Instead, because the way the system is set up to 75% of resumes for qualified applicants don't ever make it out of the ATS database and into the hands of humans because not enough applicants know the strategies to take to beat the bot system. To help us kind of understand that bigger picture of how the employment world is impacted by applicant tracking system, here's a video about the steps that need to be taken to ensure a recruiter actually reads your resume. So the video is also going to alert you about a system you can identify and use to know which applicant tracking systems the companies are using. So great little bonus there.
I'm Allison, one of the team members here at JobScan. We've helped over 1 million job seekers worldwide land more interviews and job offers than ever before, thanks to our incredible resume technology. Today, we're sharing some tips and tricks to make sure your recruiter actually reads your resume. Every company that you submit a job application to is likely to have their own unique process for how they accept and review resumes. While some rely completely on human beings, recruiters and hiring managers, to go through each step of this process, other companies rely almost solely on ATS, applicant tracking systems, to sort through the resumes. And beyond that, even more companies decide to use a hybrid approach, relying on ATS for the first step to sort through the large amount of resumes before passing that smaller group on to a recruiter or hiring manager to dive a little bit deeper. While in some scenarios, you might be able to figure out the exact process that that company is using to review and sort through resumes, other times it is not so obvious. So that's why we recommend covering all your bases for both robots and humans. After all, if your resume can't make it past the ATS, it will never have the chance to impress that real recruiter behind the screen. So the first thing that you're going to want to consider is making sure that your resume is tailored specifically to the ATS that that particular company is using. Like all kinds of tools, there are many different ATS that are available and that various companies are using, each of which have their own set of rules and ways of sorting through resumes. For example, some ATS recognize plural versions of a keyword, while others do not. Understanding which systems will be scanning your resume can change a lot about how you write and edit it. So how do you tell which specific one will be scanning yours? Well, I have a secret tool for you to use to figure out which specific ATS is being used on your resume for each job you apply to. And the best part, you can find out in seconds. Head on over to JobScan to our resume scanning tool. You're going to upload your resume and the specific job description that you're applying for in the tool. And after it's scanned, you'll be taken to a results dashboard. To find out which ATS is going to be used to scan your resume, scroll past the top overview section down to the ATS finding section. The first entry in this section is ATS tip. Here, you'll have the opportunity to enter the name of the company you're applying to, along with the URL of the application link. Once you enter this information, JobScan will produce the name of the specific ATS that the company uses in the hiring process, along with any software-specific tips to keep in mind as you edit your resume. This feature does not yet mesh all companies, but coverage will continue to grow over time. Now that you know that your resume will check all of the boxes of the ATS and hopefully make it past that stage, we want to make sure that that same resume will also impress the human recruiter who's going to be taking a closer look at your information. Never forget that the true goal of a great resume is to impress that recruiter, the human behind the screen, not the robot. Here are a few key tips to keep in mind to ensure that your recruiter not only reads your resume, but also has a great experience. Tip number 1, clarity is key. On average, recruiters spend about 6 seconds looking at a resume before making a decision whether they want to move forward or not. Be sure that all aspects of your resume, format, headings, writing, etc., is easy to read and understand quickly. Tip number 2, focus on what they care about most. Be a detective when reading the job description. If certain skills or tasks are mentioned repeatedly, it likely means it's particularly important to the recruiter. Be sure to emphasize those items in your resume. Tip number 3 is avoid keyword stuffing. While these keywords are very important to signal your qualifications for the job and for those ATS filters, overdoing it can make your resume difficult to read and lack a human quality. Tip number 4 is to double check all those little details. There's no faster way to get immediately thrown out of consideration for a role than to accidentally insult the recruiter. Be sure to double check your file names, introductions, and salutations in cover letters and in any email correspondence to ensure that you're using the correct company names, titles, and individual names of recruiters. And last but not least, tip number 5 is to make the recruiter's job easy. Never forget that recruiters have a job to do, and it's not all about finding you your dream job. Most recruiters have a certain number of qualified candidates they're ready to forward to the hiring manager and timelines they're trying to meet. When you submit a resume that was carefully tailored to the job description and meets their requirements, they'll be really excited to move you forward in the process because it also makes them look good at their jobs. While there are never any guarantees in the job search process, following these quick tips and tricks can help you check all of the right boxes for both the ATS and recruiters alike to increase your odds of having those recruiters read your resume. If you'd like more free tips and tricks about your job search, be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and check out the description box for more links to free information and guides. Hi, I'm Allison.
All right. So a lot of information from that video. Our learning outcomes from today. After today's presentation, you will be able to write a resume that will successfully navigate an applicant tracking system while supporting best practices that employers want to see and impress that hiring manager, and increase your chances of landing an interview. The video talked about a lot of different factors that go not only into creating a resume for that applicant tracking system, but also impressing the human behind the screen. Okay, those are big ways that this innovation impacts the way that you are going to write your document and also the strategies that you are going to select. So here are 3 key factors to consider when you're creating a resume that's going to enhance your chances for being selected for an interview through an applicant tracking system. All right, I picked these 3 because they translate the most into both the bot and the human. I know they mentioned details and following up and making sure you're editing your stuff. That's going to come into tailoring and other pieces of your formatting. So you're going to get all 5. However, these are your top 3. Okay, so first, going to apply traditional resume formatting and writing techniques from your document. We're going to stay away from really crazy, wild, creative templates that you might find online, or things that are really highly graphiced content, so things that have pictures or QR codes. Next, you're going to tailor your resume and make sure it matches that job description. Last, highlight those keywords that are going to amplify your qualification for the role, just to show them how great of a fit you are. So in the next few slides, we're going to break down these factors and provide a few examples of how to employ these strategies. If you have a draft of your resume handy, this may be a really great time to take that out and make some notes on areas that you can improve. Okay, formatting. Employing traditional resume writings will ensure a streamlined document. Font choice and size are the first things to consider. Your font size can range from 10-point font all the way to 12-point font, depending on what you need to adjust to keep your document on one page. Yes, I said one page. We'll get more to that when we talk about tailoring on the next slide. You have the next few bullet points to come to terms with the amount of editing you may have to do to reach this requirement. Some folks take a bit longer to process than others. May the force be with you. Okay, resume font choices are not limited to Arial or Times New Roman. There are actually many fonts that can be used. The most important feature is to remember that the font needs to be easy to read and clear. So stay away from those overly stylized and decorative font choices. Make sure your margins are 1 inch on all sides, so that your document doesn't look overcrowded. Use simple language, avoid jargon or overly complicated language. This is just going to confuse the system if it doesn't match keywords that the recruiter searches for. Avoid using unnecessary graphics or embellishments. They, one, can make your document seem really unprofessional, but also They can confuse the ATS when it scans for phrases inside of the text. Placing photos on a resume is one of the top most common reasons an ATS kicks out a resume from an applicant pool. So please stay away from putting a photo on your document. Do not use tables or columns to help organize your resume. These can result in critical information, so important things that the bot is scanning for, to be missed by the tracking system. So even though a column may be a really great way to save some space, you're taking a really large risk when using them. So tailoring your resume. Many ATS automatically compare your entire resume to the job description. So this includes all of your work, experiences, education, qualification, and skills. After, the recruiter can then sort them on how well you match the job description. So if your resume doesn't have a high enough match rate, the recruiter may not actually consider you for the role, even though you are highly qualified. Okay, so here are some steps to consider if you want to receive a high match rate. First, take a close look at the job description and identify those key things that they're asking for. So requirements, qualifications, experience, skill set, all of those things. Then look at your own document and see how well it matches. And if there's any areas that can be improved, try to pick out some relevant experience and qualifications that you can add to that document. Finally, use those keywords throughout your resume. But don't overuse them. And we'll get a little bit deeper into that as well in the next slide. Taking all of the tailoring considerations into account helps you stay on that one page because you are listing only information that is required in the job description. Now, I'm sure you're thinking I've done a lot more than just what will get me into this job. And yes, you're probably correct, but that applicant tracking system and that hiring manager only want to read the relevant information that makes you the ideal fit for this job. There are other ways to display your varieties of experiences. LinkedIn is a great one. A personal website is another, or a portfolio. This can easily be inserted into the contact information of your document, alerting the reader that there is more about you that they can go find out there. Okay, one of my favorite techniques when it comes to writing on a resume is to use the bullet writing formula. So that is an action verb plus a quantifier equals a result. So using this formula ensures you give a precise kind of definition of your experience while employing things that amplify how well you do that skill. Okay, so an action verb is a skill the employer wants you to have. You find those inside of the job duties or requirements listed in the job description. Quantifiers are calculations that intensify your skill set. So, quantifiers are basically numbers, right? Quantitative research equals numbers, statistics. So basically put a number to it. And that can be listed in actual numeric form. Maybe it's in dollar signs. Maybe it's in calendar, monthly, weekly, yearly. Giving a number or a time or an action gives much more detail than simply stating the skill. For example, edit monthly. To edit something monthly takes a lot more planning and time consideration than it comes as a daily habit or part of our routine. So adding that quantifier of monthly gives the skill depth. So you can make some assumptions about a person that says they can edit monthly. Maybe they live by a calendar, maybe they function on a to-do list. And we can assume that this kind of attention to detail and dedication may roll over into other areas of their work. Okay, results are our why. Why were you doing this? Why were you editing monthly? Okay, so why are you using your skill set? This information is usually found in the about section of the job description. So for example, if a job description is asking for a team leader that can motivate team members, incorporating a bullet that includes motivate team members as a result would heighten your match percentage. So that is tailoring and its importance. Keywords go really hand in hand with tailoring. So hiring managers, as we've learned, can use an applicant tracking system to search for those keywords. And they'll look for the ones that are relevant to the job description that they're trying to fill. So these keywords, again, are found within the different sections of a job description. So maybe it's in the job duties, job requirements, about the job, or any other sections that give description about the things that you're going to be doing. So things to remember before you start just adding keywords. So first, don't add them for the sake of having keywords. Creating a document with successful keywords is all about tweaking the keywords that already appear on the application, right? On the job description. This is important because most ATS systems have not been developed to differentiate between synonyms and abbreviations or similar skills. For example, if you have an experience that says customer service, but in the job description, it says customer support, you will want to change that on your resume, or you may not make it to the next round. This is why it's important to tailor each and every resume to that specific job position. So one other thing, don't overstuff those keywords. You could actually damage your chances of getting noticed by recruiters if you're creating a document that's hard to read. A resume that's crammed full of keywords is often passed over, and the one that is easier to read will get precedence over yours. Alrighty, quick recap of the things that we have learned today. So an applicant tracking system automates the hiring process, makes it easy on recruiters, but gives those job seekers a tiny bit of a challenge when strategizing how to create a resume that will be successful in the system. So your ATS resume format should be simple and easy to read. Stay away from those over complicated templates. Tailor that document. The more your resume matches the job description, the higher your ATS score will be and the higher match rate you will receive when an employer hiring manager is searching that database. Use keywords, identify them in the job description while you are tailoring your document. Recruiters type those in to their ATS to search for candidates. The more purposeful use of keywords, again, higher that match rate. Before we say goodbye, let's have some fun and test our knowledge. All right, we're going to do some true and false here. So, true or false? Applicant tracking systems are used to screen applicants to increase the number of qualified folks in an applicant pool. If you answered true, you're correct. As we mentioned in the introduction to ATS systems, it was intended to increase the number of qualified folks in the applicant pool. One of the unintended consequences of this innovation is the number of folks who get kicked out of the process because they submitted a resume that does not successfully navigate an applicant tracking system. All right, next one. Writing a general resume that encompasses all of your skills is the best way to navigate an applicant tracking system. I hope you yelled false, because we know general resumes are the quickest way to get you kicked out of the applicant pool, especially through an ATS system. Creating a tailored document is the key element of a successful ATS resume. It's also what a hiring manager wants to read because, again, it makes it easy on them to see your fit. All right. It is important to use keywords on your resume it is not important to use keywords on your resume. Instead, use acronyms, jargon to show you know the industry that you're applying to. I probably gave the answer away by messing up the question, but false. We know keywords and tailoring are two of the top strategies used to beat the bot. So use simple, clear language so that we're not confusing the ATS system. All right, last one. Formatting is an important part of creating a resume that will be successful when applying to a system. I got really excited, and we know that that is a true statement. Using traditional resume formatting and headers are a great strategy when submitting a resume through an ATS system. This concludes our time together. I wish you the best of luck as you navigate an applicant tracking system in your job search, and I hope you found this information shared to be beneficial. Thanks and gig 'em.